Thank you, Dr. Aremu. That was a very fine presentation. My question is, this was meant for kids, as you can see, primary school kids. I was wondering, this component about environmental control, flood and stuff, was it originally part of their curriculum? And I ask that because at the primary and secondary school levels, the curriculum seems to be very rigid, and it's not as flexible as in the tertiary institutions where lecturers can innovate and decide what to include and what to exclude. One of the complaints I've heard from teachers at the lower levels of education, primary school, secondary school, is that it's a very strict control as to what individual teachers may or may not teach in class. Or was it just for the purpose of the project that you were doing, or this particular incorporation of this component, was it part of the curriculum? Thank you very much.
Well, you're familiar with the basic curriculum in Nigeria, and instead of, when environmental issues started cropping up, instead of creating a separate subject for it, they decided, the environmental education and HIV/AIDS education, they decided to integrate components of it into basic science and basic social studies curriculum. So, but what they have there is they just mention problems that there are, and they don't go into details. And you know, the curriculum is open. You need materials. The teachers will need materials to be able to teach. But we found out that because these teachers are prepared for social studies, they are prepared for science education, they are not particularly prepared for environmental education. So getting the resources might actually be challenging, because I've done some things on environmental education at this level. Getting the materials, because they have to study that aspect again and then get the materials. So that's the challenging aspect of it. And we see this as an intervention that could go within, even when they're treating threats like that, it could come in as a resource that the students can use, that the students, you know, one of the things that we are looking at is, you know, eventually we're talking about funding so that we can make it better, make it an OER and things like that, so that students can, pupils can actually access them and work with them. The teachers can refer them to it. So the teachers will not need to start building up their own. And I'm sure that, you know, from what we have seen in past experiments, that when you have materials like this, students come more prepared to the classroom and learning becomes a bit faster. So the issue of timing, you know, being rigid and everything may not actually come in. But then we've done other projects that, you know, we've done after school, what do you call it? After school, they are not really classes, like enrichment programs after school that the students will wait for an hour after school. So all these things can come in at these times to assist the students.
My name is Dr. Gambari from FPT, Nigeria. I have two questions, ma'am. Is there any difference between the model you use and the pick and carry model? Then the second question, how do you sustain these ICT tools after your experiment? Because I did similar things when I was doing my master's program. So after using the students, teach them with computer, after the experiment, the thing died. The teacher, there's no any follow-up or continuity from the teachers of the school which I use the experiment with. How do you sustain this? Thank you.
With respect to your first question, almost all instructional design principles. They have analysis, design, development, and productions. But everybody packages their own differently. But those 4 things will be there. They answer all those 4 questions. But this particular one, if you see the references there I can give you, is more detailed. You know, it asks, maybe because I am happier with people asking questions and then I see if I have answered it, not just describing it. So it has questions, what you will do for each step and so on, the outcomes and your deliverables and everything. So it's more detailed, and that's why I felt this actually our first time of applying this. We've always used others, D can carry AD and all. Okay. So I never say that a particular design model is the best. It just depends on what you are doing and what you are focusing on. Then sustainability. Just like I said, I was in a session this morning about the sustainable ICT projects, and initially that was what I said, that there are so many things that you have put wrong already and so on, and I saw that there are so many issues of sustainability. But like I mentioned at the end of the presentation, there's actually somebody who is taking this up again. We are trying to look at various integration models, technology integration models, comparing them, how to integrate this technology into teacher practices, using teachers in the classroom, not in-service teachers, teachers in the classroom, working with a small group of teachers, and in the both urban and the rural, and see, we are looking at the mentoring model, different kinds of mentoring models for them, and see how far they can go in actually the design, delivery, and integration in the classroom. So, and just before this session, I was talking with Michelle about the sustainability, issues also, and we are thinking of packaging it in a proposal, because we have not finished the evaluation of this actually. This is just where we have reached. That's where we are reporting. We have not actually finished. We want to repackage. We are looking at, in fact, at the exhibition with my colleague here, has been trying to explore some other software packages, simple things that we could use, So we would finish the evaluation, package it as a proposal, and see where we can, get this done. But above all, making it an OER, I think, might be a very, very good step to do. So teachers can have access to it. Teachers, when they can't pay for some of these things, and they see something that is useful, and this is also useful. And this is something that, because I was involved in the flooding incidents, I would want people to know about and so on. So most likely we are going that route.
Madam, that's a very interesting presentation you made. And I'd like perhaps to ask from your Nigerian experience, from Kenya, in the publishing industry. One of the problems that we face in the publishing industry is providing the link between the curriculum developer and the classroom, the learner and the teacher. And you being a university personal teacher trainer, you're also providing the training that is required, the skills that are required. And I'm happy to see that you're trying to keep a touch base with the teachers in the classroom, other than just even the new ones that you're churning out of your campus. That's a great idea. But at the back of my mind, and that's the same thing we face in Kenya, the disconnect between the curriculum developers and the actual teacher on the ground and the actual situation, the actual teaching environment, learning and teaching environment. The different environments that the children are learning in, and so you look, and that's what we also try to do. you're looking at a private school that is well equipped, a public school that does not have any of the equipment, they really have ever even seen it, and it will be the same for the teachers. And then the universities that are providing the manpower. I don't know, I'll just maybe like to tap into your experiences in Nigeria. Is there any attempt to try to harmonize all these various components so that the left hand knows what the right one is doing and you're all moving together in our education system?
Well, as far as I know, that disconnect also is a lot present. And it's, we have the curriculum developers as if they are there, and they dump these things on you. As a teacher trainer, you have to use it as a guide to train the students, and on the schools also, they have to just use that in the schools. But then we are having some programs, especially at the early childhood level, I know about that it's involving practitioners actually, and teacher trainers with curriculum developers. I know that there's a project that my university is involved in developing a curriculum for the early childhood, and they're actually using the practitioners. They're using teacher trainers at that level, and they're using various kinds of people. And I believe with this, it's going to go a long way in ensuring that the right things get into the curriculum. Like, I also have problems with, especially, there's this computer studies curriculum, which I disagree with totally with the content and various things like that. And, there was a day I was wondering, was there actually a classroom teacher, involved in the process of this and so on. But I think people are, I think we're not really giving a lot of feedback back to the curriculum developers about what is happening in the classroom. So it's like, well, they don't know, they feel it is okay, and they go on. But with various researches, especially emanating from our universities, from our the school supervisory bodies, so then publishing it, getting it into the newspapers, I think they would eventually hear and bring the right people in. Then hopefully.
Thank you, madam. I want to ask from the presenter why she chose to develop a module for flooding when there are other aspects of learning that thank you, that the pupil at that level should be, taught with ICT inspired model. Because I think that going to learn to teach them about flooding and how you prevent flooding at the expense of other things that they need to learn, like the language component, the mathematical component, that will make them useful being in the society and for themselves. He should tell us what she has done in those other areas before going to check flooding, which I think they cannot check in themselves anyway.
I'm not sure you were here at the beginning of this.
I wasn't.
Okay, because I first told the story about my almost going with the flood in August 2011. So the passion started there. But if you're talking about learning packages, I've worked with a lot of learning packages in maths and science, and that's my own area of specialization. And we've done after-school enrichment ICT programs with girls in particular on science and on mathematics. So I have quite a lot of things in that area. So venturing into environmental education was just a psychological experience that I had. And talking about not doing anything first thing is awareness, having knowledge. Like this morning we had that. Having knowledge is even greater than having food or shelter or things, because you know what to do at whatever time. So talking about them not being able to do anything, I don't think they are not able to do anything. Spreading the word, talking to others about some of the practices that that are not really good, and so on. So I think these are things that good things that will, actions, affirmative actions that will come out of it, and I think it's very important. And talking about environmental, like I say, I do quite a number of things with my students. One group of students actually, when we started hearing years back about ozone layer depletion, we started working on that, and acid rain. So it's quite a lot of things, but this one was from an experience actually. Maybe I wouldn't have done it to flooding.
Another question. I think then we're going to go to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. I have been inspired by your presentation, especially where I'm from. Liberia has similar threats of flood. You spoke more on the preventive measures, and I was looking for a safety measure. For example, what if we found our kids, found ourselves in the flood with the kids? What are the safety measures can we apply in teaching them, so when this happens, what they can do? Some safety measure in my mind would be like teaching them how to swim. I cannot swim, so if I'm in a flood, what do I do? So I just thought to bring that up so we can look at some safety measures in the modules that you develop. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very great contribution to the package. We're going to begin to look at that as an additional thing. I think it's very important, because right at the time I was going to make a decision to get out of my car, I was wondering, am I going to walk? What actually would I take along? I mustn't take anything that would weigh me down and things like that. I think it's very vital.
Thank you for this contribution as well. I think that actually what is important out of what we heard is also to see, okay, should we start first with this approach, which basically gives them already access to technology, but not as pure technology and pure ICT learning experience. I think they learn by experience. They learn by playing, and this is one of the ways to do it. And I think you also insisted on the fact that it could even be extracurricular, something they could do after hours of teaching and so on. So I think this is a basic and fundamental question. How do we approach it? And I had a question to you, maybe teachers, do you benefit already in your countries of a capacity building training for teachers? Is it part of what you get as a curriculum of your trainings? Or in your case, for example, in Nigeria, are you being trained by the Ministry of Education, or is it all learned by yourself?
Okay. We have pockets of, actually when the policy on computer education came out, the aspect of training was also mandated there. And but I'm not sure how, I have some of my colleagues here too, how the training, how successful the training had been on all the levels of education. And those who have actually gone for training, it has been basically, what do I use, word processing for, and things like that, not really working. But we have various projects also in federal institutions across the country. I think SchoolNet has been working with the teachers and providing laptops, but it hasn't gotten actually to the grassroots.
Thank you. I think